You want to know what's messed up? My husband kissed me goodbye this morning, told me he loved me, and said he was heading to a company luncheon. And I believed him. I always believed him. So you can imagine my surprise when I'm sitting in a parking lot outside a local diner, watching that same husband walk out the door, laughing, relaxed, his hand resting on the lower back of a woman who is absolutely not me. I wanted to get out of that car. I wanted to walk straight up to him and ask him, right there in that parking lot, how he could look me in the eye every single day and say I was his whole world. I wanted to scream. But I didn't, because my parents didn't raise a pushover. They raised someone who thinks before she acts, someone who doesn't flip the table until she knows exactly what cards everyone is holding. My name is Ellie Marcus, and my husband thought he was about to pull off the most calculated betrayal of our 4-year marriage. He thought he had me right where he wanted me, trusting, devoted, and completely in the dark. He was wrong. And this is the story of the pettiest, most satisfying revenge I have ever pulled off in my life. And honey, I am not sorry about a single second of it. Before we get into it, if you're new here, welcome to Melodic Vengeance. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a story. Now, let's get into Ellie's story. Let me tell you about my marriage. 4 years. And before I go any further, I know what you're thinking. How did someone like me end up with someone like Garret? Fair question. When you love someone, you see the best version of them and hold on to it even when the cracks start to show. I was very good at that. Uncomfortably good, as it turns out. We lived in Garret's childhood home, inherited when his parents passed. It had character. It also had a roof that was slowly losing its will to live. We owned 4 pails for rainy season, each with its own spot, each with its own drip pattern. It was a whole system, our system, and I loved it because I loved the man inside it. Here's what you need to know about me. I grew up watching my parents live paycheck to paycheck and decided very young that I would never do the same. I'd been saving since my first paycheck. Numbers were my language. I was an accountant. Financial discipline wasn't just a habit, it was a personality trait. Garret came into our marriage with one significant problem: credit cards, used excessively and carelessly until his score was, to put it gently, a disaster. No loans, no financing, nothing. So I said, "Don't worry about the bills, pay off your debt. I've got us." And for 4 years I covered everything while he paid down his cards. He bought me things from time to time, flowers, takeout, small gestures that felt like love. Maybe some of it was. I have to believe some of it was real. Garret had a core group of friends since college: Trevor, Larry, and Lara. Game nights, barbecues, loud Saturday afternoons. I loved that little circle and they welcomed me into it long before we married. Trevor and Larry had a habit I always found quietly touching. At the end of every get-together, one of them would clap Garret on the shoulder at the door. "Take care of her. Don't do anything stupid. You got a good one there." Every single time, like a ritual. They saw me cook for everyone every weekend. They knew I was covering our life while Garret worked on his finances. They knew and they respected it. Lara heard those words every time, too. And every time, I noticed she never nodded, never smiled, never said a single thing. I filed that under things I couldn't quite name and moved on. Lara was warm and funny and easy to be around. She had a Care Bear tattoo on her right forearm that I once told her I loved. She said, "Do it, it doesn't even hurt." I said I hate needles. She said then, "Get a sticker," and we both laughed. I liked her. I want you to remember that I genuinely liked her. Then one night, the rain came down harder than usual, and Garret and I were up past midnight emptying pails. 4th round on the hallway pail when Garret leaned in the doorway and said the words that made my heart completely betray me. "I want a family, Ellie. Soon. But I can't bring a baby home to a roof that leaks. We need to renovate this house properly." A family. A real family home. Everything I had ever wanted standing in our dripping hallway at midnight. "I looked into a loan," he said. "I can't get one yet. My credit still needs time." "We have my savings," I said simply. He pulled me into a hug, and I stood there imagining what our family home was going to look like. I had absolutely no idea I was holding the blueprint for his exit plan. The contractor's name was Dale. Straightforward and thorough. He quoted us $92,000. full scope, no padding. Then he offered something that made my accountant brain sit up straight. Full payment upon completion. Not $1 until the job was done. One payment on the day they finished. Not one day over. My savings were in a high-yield account. If I didn't touch that money for the entire renovation, it would keep earning interest while Dale worked. "We'll take it," I said. Dale slid the contract across the table. Garret picked up the pen and signed as the homeowner. Just Garret. Just his name. I didn't think anything of it at the time. We moved into a small one-bedroom rental while the house was being worked on. I paid for all of it. And every few days I'd drive past the house on my lunch break and watch something beautiful take shape where the water stains used to be. I was happy. Genuinely, uncomplicated happy. Hold on to that image. Looking back, the signs were everywhere. Blinking. In neon. With a little arrow pointing directly at my husband's guilty conscience. Garret started going out every Saturday, always vague about it, running errands, catching a game, nothing specific enough to challenge. The friends' nights moved to Larry's place. Our rental was barely big enough for the two of us, so I understood completely. And Trevor's apartment, Lord, good man, terrible apartment. The kind of place that had a smell you couldn't identify and didn't want to. So when Garret said it wasn't practical for everyone to come over, I believed him without question. I was so accommodating. I genuinely cringe thinking about it now. Then came the Saturday. Dale had told us that week we were in the final stretch, 3 more weeks, and the house would be ready. I was folding laundry when Garret appeared in the doorway, dressed and keys already in hand. "Company luncheon today," he said, checking his phone. "Shouldn't run too long." "Okay," I said. "I need to grab laundry soap anyway." He kissed my cheek and left. 10 minutes later, I was in the laundry aisle of the supermarket when I heard my name. Vivian, Garret's coworker. I'd met her 3 times at their company Christmas parties. She lit up when she saw me and we exchanged pleasantries. I mentioned Garret was at the company luncheon. Her smile stayed in place, but her eyes did something interesting for just a second. "Company luncheon?" she said carefully. "Ellie, there's no luncheon today. I coordinate those. Nothing's been scheduled." She paused, then leaned in. "I probably shouldn't say anything, but I saw Garret last weekend at the mall. He wasn't alone. She was tall, pretty, dark brown hair, little mole right here. She touched her left cheek, and a tattoo on her forearm. Looked like a little cartoon bear." I didn't need any more information. I knew exactly who that was. I thanked Vivian, finished my shopping, loaded the car like a completely normal person, and then opened the location app on my phone. Garret's dot was sitting perfectly still, 15 minutes away, a diner. I drove there, found his car immediately, parked far enough back to see the entrance and waited. Then the door opened. Garret walked out first, relaxed, laughing. And right beside him, tall, dark brown hair, a mole on her left cheek. I didn't need to see anything else. It was Lara. I took photos. My hands started shaking around the 3rd one, and by the 5th one I couldn't see the screen properly because my eyes had completely betrayed me. I watched Garret open the car door for her. I watched her smile up at him the way I used to smile up at him. I drove home. I cried the whole way. The ugly kind. I sat in the parking lot of our rental for 4 full minutes before I trusted my face enough to go inside. Then I took the laundry detergent upstairs and finished the laundry. Because what else do you do? Garret came home that evening cheerful and relaxed, smelling faintly of a restaurant I'd never been to. "How was the luncheon?" I asked from the kitchen. "Good. Pretty uneventful. You?" "Quiet," I said. "Got the laundry soap." "Nice." We talked about laundry soap. I made dinner. I laughed at exactly the right moments. I should have been an actress, honestly. The talent was clearly there all along. After he fell asleep, I picked up his phone from the nightstand. Now, Garret had never had a passcode on his phone. 4 years of marriage, and that phone was always open. He was not a passcode person. Except recently he was. I tried our anniversary. Wrong. My birthday. Wrong. I looked at him sleeping there and tried his birthday. It opened immediately. His own birthday. This stupid man was hiding an entire secret life behind his own birthday. I genuinely didn't know whether to be offended or impressed. I landed on both. Lara's name was at the top of his messages. Of course it was. I won't pretend I was calm reading what I found. I was not calm. There were renovation progress photos sent to Lara throughout the entire 5 months. The new flooring, the kitchen cabinets, the bathroom tiles I had spent 45 minutes selecting at the showroom. Lara had opinions on all of it, the enthusiastic opinions of a woman who believed she was decorating her own home, because in her mind, she was. I scrolled further back and found where the design arguments actually started. Lara had been sending Garret her wish list from the very beginning. Specific tile styles, modern, clean lines, stark and sleek. Paint colors, gray tones, cool and contemporary. She had even sent him photos of inspiration rooms, the kind of sharp, modern aesthetic that was a world away from what I wanted. I had wanted Japandi. Warm neutrals, natural wood tones, calm and grounded. A home that felt like a breath. Every single time I suggested something warm or natural, Garret pushed back. He would say it looked too plain, too old-fashioned, too this or too that. I thought we just had different taste. I thought we were two people learning to compromise. We were not two people learning to compromise. He was running Lara's wish list through our marriage and calling it his opinion. Then I found the paint exchange. Garret had sent her my color suggestion, the warm neutrals I had wanted, and her response was right there. Yuck, that's so boring. Just like her. I don't know how you survive the boredom, Garret. I read that 3 times. This woman, who had eaten at my table and accepted my warmth for years, whose future living room was funded by my grandmother's life insurance policy, called me boring. Then I found the message that clicked everything into place. Don't worry, Han. When she pays the contractor and the house is ready, I'll have the divorce papers served. Can't wait to be with you in our home. Our home. He had a whole plan. Payment was the trigger. The moment I handed Dale that check, Garret would hand me divorce papers and walk into his beautiful renovated house with Lara. He just never accounted for the possibility that I might find out first. I put the phone back exactly where I found it, went to the bathroom, closed the door, sat on the edge of the tub in the dark, and fell apart for exactly as long as I needed to. Then I washed my face, looked at myself in the mirror, then I went back to bed and lay down next to my husband in the dark. Just a few more days, he thought. Fine. I was going to get there first. If you're enjoying this one so far, drop a comment and let me know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a really good time. Okay, back to it. For the first week, I went through the motions: work, home, dinner, the right laughs at the right times, the shower running at night so he couldn't hear me fall apart. The second week, something shifted. One evening, Garret sat beside me on the couch, put his arm around me and said warmly, Dale says 2 more weeks and we're home, babe. He kissed my temple. I leaned into him and said, I can't wait. And I meant it, just not the way he thought. That night I did the math. 2 weeks. Garret's plan was already in motion. Divorce papers probably already drawn up somewhere, just waiting for the payment trigger. I had 2 weeks to get at least 10 steps ahead of him. The next morning I called my office. First sick day in 3 years. I wasn't sick. I was furious. There's a difference, but only barely. Oh, I want to let you know that I record everything, every expense, every bill, every transaction. I track where every dollar goes. I always have. Maybe that's why I became an accountant, or maybe becoming an accountant just gave that habit a professional title. Either way, I had records of everything, every living expense I had covered during our marriage, every payment, my savings history going back years, my grandmother's life insurance payout documented to the day it arrived, and the renovation contract, Garret's name on the signature line, just Garret's. I put it all in a folder and found the best divorce attorney in Albuquerque. The lawyer's name was Sandra Reeves. I walked into her office that afternoon, sat down and slid the folder across her desk without a word. Sandra went through every page. She noted I was not legally liable for a single dollar of the renovation cost since my name was never on the contract. She confirmed that as the sole financial contributor to our marital living expenses, I had strong grounds for spousal support. She explained that in New Mexico, the appreciated value of the property during the marriage gave me a legitimate claim on a portion of the equity. And she told me that Garret's years of reckless credit card spending while I covered everything could be argued as dissipation of marital assets, working against his share of any settlement. She closed the folder, looked at me over her reading glasses, and said my name was never on that contract and that was entirely his problem. That she had seen a lot of cases and this folder was something else. We filed that same week. Garret came home every evening to a wife who made dinner, asked about his day, and laughed at his stories. He texted Lara updates from the bathroom while I watched television in the next room. He was counting down the days. So was I. Just very differently. The morning of the final walkthrough, I woke up early, made coffee, and thought about my grandmother. About her pressing money into my hand when I was little and saying, "Save it, baby. You never know what life is going to ask of you." Turns out life was going to ask for quite a lot, but I had saved accordingly. Garret was up early too, barely containing his excitement. 5 months of waiting. 5 months of secret countdowns. Today was the day his plan paid off. He was right about that much. "You ready?" he said from the doorway. "I'll meet you there. I have to check if I didn't forget anything," I said warmly. "Go ahead without me." He kissed my cheek and walked out. I listened to his car leave. Then I called Sandra. Process server confirmed. Then I called Dale. I kept it simple. I told him I wouldn't be at the walkthrough, that I would not be coming to that house, and that the contract was in Garret's name. I didn't say divorce. I didn't explain. Dale was a smart man who had been in this business a long time. He understood. I picked up my pre-packed bag from the closet, where it had been waiting for 3 days, and walked out of that tiny rental for the last time. Across town, the house was finished and beautiful. The gray walls caught the morning light perfectly. The modern tiles Lara had chosen gleamed in the kitchen. The roof that had tortured us for years was completely silent. Garret was standing in the living room when Dale walked through the front door. Dale looked around at his finished work with quiet satisfaction. Then he turned to Garret. "Good morning," Dale said. "I'll take that payment now." Garret smiled easily. "Ellie's on her way. She'll have the check." "Your wife called me this morning," Dale said. "She won't be coming. The contract is in your name, Mr. Garret. I need that payment today." Garret's smile faded. "What do you mean she won't be coming? She's supposed to." "Sir." Dale's voice was calm and final. $92,000 today. That is what you signed. Just give me a minute, I'll call her." Garret pulled out his phone, hands moving quickly. The call went straight to voicemail. He tried again, voicemail. "She's not picking up," he said, almost to himself. Something was shifting in his face now, the easy confidence draining out of it. "I'll need that payment today, Mr. Garret," Dale repeated. "Not tomorrow. The contract is very clear." I need a few days to arrange." "Page 3, Dale said, producing the signed contract from his folder and setting it on the counter between them. Paragraph 4. Failure to pay on the date of completion triggers an immediate mechanic's lien on the property. I did ask you to read it before you signed." Garret stared at the page. His jaw tightened. She was supposed to pay. That was the arrangement. She has the money. And then there was a knock at the front door. Garret turned, probably assuming it was me, finally showing up, finally ready to write the check and hand over everything like a good oblivious wife. But it was the process server. The man stepped inside, confirmed Garret's name professionally, and handed him an envelope. "Petition for dissolution of marriage, filed by Ellie Marcus." Garret stood very still for a moment. Then he looked at the envelope, then at Dale, then at the contract on the counter, then back at the envelope. "No," he said quietly. Then louder. "No. No, no, no. She can't. This isn't." He set the envelope down on the counter with shaking hands and picked up his phone again. Called me again. Voicemail. "Ellie, call me back right now. Whatever you think is happening, call me back. We need to talk. I can explain." Dale watched him quietly. "Looks like you're in trouble. So I will give you 30 days, Garret," Dale said. "After that, my attorney files. You have a divorce proceeding and a mechanic's lien to deal with. I suggest you start making calls." He closed his folder, took one last satisfied look at the kitchen he had built, and walked out. Garret stood alone in the middle of the most beautiful house he had ever owned, holding divorce papers, staring at a contract he had never read, knowing with cold clarity that he had 2 enormous problems and absolutely no way to solve either one. He called me again about an hour later. I answered this time. He was sorry. He said it so many times the word started to lose its shape. He said it just happened, that he never meant to hurt me, that he didn't know how things got this far. I let him finish. Then I asked him one question. Garret, how did it feel, watching me work to support you, paying for everything so you could get back on your feet while you were with her? Did you feel anything? Any guilt at all? Silence. Not a long pause, not a searching one. Just silence. The silence of a man with no answer because the honest answer was too damaging to say out loud. I hope you're happy with her, I said. I genuinely mean that, but you have to face the consequences of what you did. Goodbye, Garret. I hung up. That was the last time I ever heard his voice. I called Trevor that evening, then Larry. I told them everything. The diner, the texts, the paint colors that were never Garret's ideas, all of it. They listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a pause. Trevor spoke first. Ellie, we are so sorry. You didn't deserve any of that. We always knew you were too good for him, Larry said. We just kept hoping he'd figure that out himself. They weren't surprised. Not really. And somehow that made me feel less foolish about not seeing it sooner. I moved back in with my parents, Frank and Donna, that same day. Just temporarily while I looked for my own place. I sat them down at their kitchen table and told them everything. I watched my father's face cycle through about 7 emotions in 30 seconds. His jaw tightened when I got to Laura. His eyes went dark when I described the text messages. By the time I got to Garret's plan to serve me papers after the final payment, Frank looked like a man who was mentally calculating driving directions to go deliver a strongly worded message involving some colorful barnyard language. I genuinely thought he was going to get up and grab his keys, and then I told them what I did instead. The process server. Dale. The contract Garret never read. The $9,000. The garnished wages. My father looked at my mother looked at my father, and then they both started laughing. The deep, real, tears in the eyes kind of laughing that fills a whole kitchen and makes everything feel like it's going to be okay. Frank, my mother said, wiping her eyes, I'm making her favorite pot roast. I'm getting wine, my father said, already pushing back his chair. The good kind. Not the Tuesday kind, the actual good kind. He pointed at me across the table. We did a good job, Donna. We really did, she agreed. I sat at my parents' kitchen table and laughed with them until my sides hurt. And somewhere in the middle of all that laughter, I realized that this, right here, was the home I had been trying to build all along. It was already mine. It always had been. I'll keep this short because Garret's next 30 days tell the story better than I ever could. Bank said no. Credit's still not strong enough despite 4 years of living expense-free on my dime. He called Trevor. Barely got 2 sentences out. Trevor cut him off. What did you expect, Garret? You were going to make her pay for the renovation, then divorce her and move Laura in. That's so messed up, man. We told you every single time. Take care of her. Don't do anything stupid. And you did the stupidest thing possible. I'm sorry you're my friend, but I'm not tolerating this. No, he called Larry. Same answer before he could finish his sentence. You had a good wife, Garret. You're such an idiot to do that to her. No. Good men. They always were. Now, here is where it gets truly beautiful. Laura had canceled her apartment lease and sold every piece of furniture she owned because she was moving into a renovated house and planned to buy everything new. She packed her whole life into boxes, clothes, and important documents, completely certain she was about to walk through the front door of her new home. The house was frozen as a marital asset. Nobody was moving in. Not Garret, not Laura. Court order. Laura sold a perfectly furnished apartment for a house she would never once sleep in, and her savings went to the divorce lawyer, because when I filed first, Garret needed someone to respond to my petition. Laura paid for his legal defense, thinking she was buying them a future. She was not buying them a future. So they landed at Larry's 2-bedroom apartment. 1 month free, then utilities, then rent. Completely fair, except they were broke. Almost nothing from the house sale. No savings, living out of boxes in his spare room. Larry called Trevor to complain. Trevor told me. I was at my parents' place by then, eating pot roast and drinking the good wine. I listened, said that's a shame, and went back to dinner. Day 28, Garret asked Dale to just buy the house. Dale offered, but Garret couldn't sell without my signature. Frozen asset, remember? The offer went through Sandra. We negotiated and settled at $190,000. Dale deducted his $92,000. Sandra argued the rest with what I can only describe as elegant devastation. Then months later, divorce settlement is finalized. Garret walked away from his parents' house with just under $9,000 and monthly alimony garnished from his wages for 3 years. Dale flipped the house 8 months later for $265,000. Good for Dale. He earned it. Sandra told me at the end that Garret never consulted a lawyer before any of this. He thought he could have me pay, hand me papers, and walk away clean. He didn't know about community property laws. He didn't know about spousal contributions. He didn't research any of it. He just assumed I would pay and quietly disappear. He signed a contract without reading it. He built a plan without checking the fine print, and he underestimated the woman he married. 3 for 3. So here's where everyone landed. Garret lost the house his parents left him, walked away with almost nothing, monthly alimony draining his paycheck, and Laura got no house, no furniture, no savings, no lease, living out of boxes in someone else's spare room. She called me boring. She picked the paint color for a house she will never enter. I just want to sit with that for a moment. And me? I found a new apartment not too far from my parents. Close enough for Sunday pot roast. Far enough to feel like mine. I still have my savings, every dollar untouched, still earning interest. I still have grandma's money. I still have my job. I still have Sandra's invoice, which remains the best money I ever spent. And every month, a deposit lands in my account from Garret's garnished wages, which goes straight back into savings. Because old habits don't die. They just compound. Am I completely over it? Honestly, no. Not entirely. You don't love someone for 4 years and walk away without carrying something. There are still moments that catch you off guard. Man, just imagine if I hadn't found out when I did. If Vivian hadn't been in that laundry aisle on that specific Saturday. If I just handed Dale that check like a good, trusting wife and waited for Garret to hand me my walking papers, I would have lost everything I worked for. Instead, I walked away with everything I came with, plus interest, plus the knowledge that I was prepared when life asked me for something big. My grandmother used to say, "Save it, baby. You never know what life is going to ask of you." She was right. She was always right. And I am so grateful I listened. And that, honey, is the pettiest, most satisfying thing I have ever done in my life. And I am not sorry about a single second of it. And that is Ellie's story. If this one hit different, share it with someone who needs a little petty revenge energy today. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, okay?
If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Don't forget to follow for more content just like this. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.